Well, I think my specialty is pretty broad. I'm really interested in, I've always been interested in inquiry-based learning and the opportunities that providing different spaces or different tools can do for expanding outside of normative ways of classroom production. So for my master's, it was working with the youth in outdoor settings, and also with technology. I think I'm not, my background in technology is more in media production. It's like I was a multimedia studies teacher at one point. It's not necessarily computational, even though I have some experience with that too. So for the past several years, I was just very interested, in Arizona we have very strict, very reductive educational systems, especially for Latino youth. And so how can bringing in new technologies kind of help bring in different ideologies, different discourses? So this very much, I like the emphasis on, although DML work, that there's the social affordances of tools and the identity work that youth do. Why is that important? What are the connections between social affordances and identity and learning? And if we do bring tools into classrooms, it has to come from that angle first, because that's the human angle, and that's actually the practices that youth are doing with these tools, and in fact also what teachers do with these tools. But people don't necessarily recognize that as valuable work or connected to learning. So that's sort of like just an underlying focus. And then within what I was doing, I was trying to have youth and teachers work together and just talk about how can we change school by using these different tools and using the practices that we do outside of school. How can we mix things up? And that's a conversation that's very meta and wasn't really like, the initial, that didn't really work necessarily. And so what did work is having new ways to model practice that brought in different types of discourse, different types of practice. So social networks were really useful for that, and also some after-school groups were useful for that, introducing new tools into what the students were already doing. We want to emphasize youth as creators. And if you change schools to emphasize youth as creators, then you're going to see different kinds of products. If you allow youth to be genre creators and not just reproducers, I think you'd see a lot of innovation. I don't like to paint these schools as these horrible places, because I don't think they are. I think youth and teachers have so many resources, creative resources that they bring to these spaces that that aren't really valued or allowed a lot of the times. It's like this stopgap. Like, you're not supposed to bring in the digital tools that you have. You're not supposed to bring in your interests. You're not supposed to bring in your relationships. These are incredible resources. So I think it's more dire that we're not allowing those resources into places. And I think, I don't study middle and upper class schools, but I have a feeling that that's just sort of implicitly allowed in those spaces. I've been following this research for a really long time, because when I first went back to grad school, it was like the only stuff on the stuff that I was interested in. So I just kept eating up all these MIT press stuff that you could access, and things weren't even published formally. I remember writing some of the people, can I get this stuff yet? So I've always just been really interested in it. I had come to the DML conference the first year, and actually I had a job in the Netherlands. I was just there last year that just happened through talking to Kevin Leander, which is like after a presentation at the first DML conference. So it was like all the people and things that I've been really excited about for a long time.